systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Takedown Breakdown, Week 7 review, NFL DFS. Going to be breaking down all things DraftKings, a little bit of FanDuel, everything to do with the slate yesterday. We do have a big two-gamer and some showdown, super late showdown tonight, 10 Eastern. I'll be up watching the Jays game, though, big game 7. That should be electric. So we do have a show coming up, as usual, at 2 p.m. Eastern, Hoop, Title, and myself. But today, joining me, Nades is away on his cruise. Shout out to Nades. But got our guy, Belman 967. Matt, what's going on, man? Excited to have you here again. What's going on with you?
Nothing, man. Great sports time, as you kind of just alluded to. Got game 7 of the ALCS. Football, college football. I mean, we're in the grind right now, and it's so fun. There aren't that many times in the year that are better than right now.
NBA, back tomorrow. I mean, there's literally everything going on. It was another huge week over at the Nation when it was with NFL, MMA, college football. Go to our X account. You see it on the screen. It's at Ship It Nation. You can see all the screenshots there, the members, the community winning. You can get in right now with code SHIP19. Get 5 days for $19. Usually people are stressing that on a Monday. Like, is it just football? You got football, NFL, you got tonight, the showdown, the two-gamer, the NBA stuff coming back. There's a lot to get in there for and get you set up for a week of success. So hopefully that's something you can do. How was the birthday, man? Happy belated birthday. We wished it to you on the show yesterday, but how was it for you?
It was good, man. We talked a little bit before, getting up there. So the birthdays don't mean as much as they certainly used to. Times are different now. I was beginning to tell you before we got on, my 3-year-old was a little bit sad that it wasn't her birthday yesterday. So I kind of just let her pretend that it was her birthday all day because I don't care. She was all about it. So just family time. I got 4 girls over here, including my dog. So football, family, it's what it's about.
I love that. Add the football. I talk about, family. Everyone says family first. I agree with that. Like I always go with that. But we talk about, making money or get like in the game that we play, it's competitive when it comes to that. It's not just about the money, but that's part of it. So the finances and then the fitness, but you got to add football in there too. I like that call. Little extra F on the end. So we'll break it down as usual. We're going to go through the perfect lineup. The dashboard is not up to be able to see. They only have the first half of the games updated for people looking at that. But we do have the Stone from yesterday, the sneaky game, and the target game were the 2 best games that you needed to have if you had the Bo Nix stuff or if you had the Herbert stuff. Mahomes, great game, 3 quarters. People know I'm retiring the bit, though, Matt. Like, people get so serious about this never Mahomes thing. It's been a bit forever, but people started to take it very seriously yesterday. I think I got to retire it and just move on. Spoiler alert, wasn't needed again. And people said, but 3 quarters. Well, Herbert barely played the first 2 quarters of good football and then showed up. And Bo Nix played like 1 quarter, but it was enough to show up on the optimal, which we'll get to in a second. So what's your thoughts on the slate yesterday as a whole, just what you saw?
Well, I think that only 3 quarters Mahomes counter is kind of for naught because that was inherent risk in Mahomes yesterday. So that was kind of part of the deal with playing him. He was smashed while he was in there, but the Raiders couldn't keep up. So that certainly limited his upside. Was an interesting slate. You kind of mentioned it. The game that was expected to go nuts ended up with 66 points, but it didn't go nuts. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb was really good, but Jaden Daniels getting hurt and the Washington side really doing nothing hurt that game. And that game came in really, really highly owned. I played a lot of it. I had a couple of lineups with mostly pieces from that game cash, but I feel like if you got off the chalk this week, outside of, Judkins and Rashee Rice, you were potentially in a really good spot.
Yeah. And it was talked about too yesterday. The thought process was like, if somebody could beat Mahomes, maybe it's that Philly mini game. It didn't end up being Devontae and AJ Brown. They were right in that same Rice range. And then we talked about it a ton. It was on my leverage lane. Shout out to my guy, Alex Blickel. He had the Mims call, which made a lot of members a lot of money, and myself made a good run at the 153 max yesterday on DraftKings. But Keenan Allen was in there and some of the other guys, and ended up being Gadsden on the optimal. But I should note, 286.66. We always do this. Everyone's like, of course, that's the perfect lineup. We're just looking at it to see. We do have the Millie Maker winner from the 20 screenshot. He'd posted it on X. We'll congratulate him here in a little bit. I thought it was one of the nice, I think actually, because we've reviewed pretty much every week, I think it's the nicest $20 Millie Maker lineup I've seen all season. And in a while, it was a very nice lineup. We'll get to that in a minute. But what do you see here with the optimal outside of the obvious? I think the Quinshon Judkins stuff, people complaining, obviously 3 touchdowns is an unlikely thing, but I put that one on as a caveat when we talked on the show yesterday with Hoop Title and myself about don't come in here and complain about if this guy has a good game or if Rice has a good game. Like, these are the chalk for a reason, right?
And that was part of the deal with Judkins. Like, yeah, he got there with 3 touchdowns, which in a lot of ways is lucky, and you can't count on that. But on the other side of it, Miami is horrendous defensively, especially against the run. And if you look a little bit into the weeds, last week, Stefanski got killed all week in Cleveland for only giving Judkins 12 carries. They had 1st and goal at the 1 against the Steelers last week and didn't run Judkins once. He was getting killed all week. He mentioned it multiple times in his press conferences, and he's not one who talks about a lot at all, that he messed up not giving Judkins the ball more. So it was a priority to just give him the rock. They did. The 3 touchdowns were lucky, but he was in a great spot anyways. The biggest thing that stands out to me from this lineup is the double Philly receivers with no Jalen Hurts. Hurts was really good. Bo Nix was even better. So sometimes you got to think outside the box. I think this lineup did a really, really good job of playing solid plays like Judkins, like Trey McBride, but also getting outside the box.
Yeah, like this is looking at the optimals. So like this is the part I'm always telling people, like, this is the perfect lineup. And
okay, my fault. Yeah,
you're good. I'm just saying, like, this is a good point you just led into. Actually, it's hilarious because it works out perfect, because like the Bo Nix thing, this is when we try and explain to people about naked quarterbacks hitting on optimals. Sure. But it's there. You, like I said, we're 249.6 versus is what the winning Millie Maker lineup that we'll show in a second here versus 286.6. There's a ton of leeway to find $1,100 to get to Hurts, and I think you lose like 15 points, and then you got to drop somewhere else and lose a little bit, but you would still win the Millie. And that's, again, it's like ifs and buts. I get all that. I'm trying to just explain it to people. It's no different than the 2 tight end thing finally hitting. Like, it has not hit. It took a 32.4 point performance from Gadsden for it to show up. And I was trying to find it here. Just go back. I got so much crap to go through, but like the other lineups yesterday, I'll have to pull it up after, maybe if I find it, but like, I'm sure there's a ton of lineups up there that didn't have Gadsden and then weren't 2 tight end lineups. It obviously could have just been McBride and something else in there. Like if you had Mims, for example, as a 4 wide receiver lineup, like there's a ton of different ways to get to it. But either way, the winner of the Millie Maker had double tight end, and the optimal had it. So it definitely can happen. But just to note it, there is no Rice, there is no Mahomes, there is no who are some of the other guys I'm thinking of? No Washington, Dallas at all. No Lamb is a big factor even in this. So anything else when it comes to the perfect lineup, I think this just shows that, you know, if you can find some of these off the wall. I will say this: ownership very low on Smith, Brown. People didn't really go back to Keenan as much as the week before. Not much on Gadsden. Tight end was spread out. Cleveland and Judkins were popular. Taylor got held in check because he's almost $9,000, so it wasn't like he got out of control on ownership. And then Bo Nix, low owned. Any other thoughts with this one before we go to the actual winning $20 Millie Maker?
Yeah, 2 things. One, Keenan is really frustrating, and why you can't always just go off of what happened last week. Obviously, with Quentin Johnston out, Keenan was a much better play on paper, but didn't run as many routes as one would expect without Johnston in that spot. Comes back and has a monster score at a really low price tag, very low ownership. So, you know, kind of got to, as far as last week goes, you got to note it, but you can't use it as the Bible because things change. And I wanted to just comment on Newens. I know he's coming on here. He said, I got off the chalk. LOL, that didn't work out for me too well. I get it. Me neither in a lot of lineups. I just meant that most of getting away from the chalk didn't work out, but a lot of the chalk didn't work out as well. So you needed to be different in a bunch of spots to really get there.
Yeah, my guy Chief always says it. Yeah, you're not going to go to wrap up. By the way, week 7's not over. I said I'm retiring it after week 7, but it is hilarious. Like there's a quote. It's something about you live long enough to to be the villain. It's like people are literally trying to get Mahomes there just to try and say it against me or something. Like, I told people yesterday, I haven't played this guy for 102 slates. I'm not playing him now. And I told everybody, just like I said, and I've got it here, I'm going to show the stone. He was definitely a play yesterday if you've been playing him. This is what I tried to explain.
Right.
We just did the video on Mastermind with Nades and myself. He's highly optimal. He has the pieces to go with him. I wasn't shitting on anybody else for playing him. I was just saying, once again, why I don't play him and wasn't going to. And I ended up escaping with a pretty good day. It felt good to come back when, people were saying, oh, how's your Herbert play holding up? And then he dunked on Mahomes. That does feel good when that happens. So I appreciate it. So, yeah, we'll review some of my lineups as well just to show you guys. But, again, I can't give enough credit to the Stone, the team over at Ship It Nation. Love Hoopster. There's nobody better than our guy Hoop at telling you a guy's a shitty play one week and then hopping back on the next week and just watching him absolutely crush. So congrats just to Hoop on always having the good side of the coin when it comes to that stuff. The Judkins bounce back. He said, no, this is his week. It wasn't last week. And even though he got more popular, it really has nothing to do with that. Andrew did mention something else, though, and this is my key always. It's on the Stone. In the Mastermind program, Nades and I just broke down an hour. It's not for all members. It's an additional add-on, but you can get in for less than $100 to check it out. It's a one-time membership for $297, and you're in for life. But just noting it shows how we read these and how we put together a player pool and then go build in Saber. We have a how-to on the website on how to use this tool and what it's about and explains it. But if you want a personal breakdown of the process, we do that as an additional with the Mastermind program. But Judkins clearly popped. Rashi Rice clearly popped. You have to find ways to get different with these pieces. So I definitely think that's important when you're looking at it. The other thing I was going to note, Matt, is just we tagged the Stone. That's why we say it's literally the best tool in DFS. It's got everything. We don't just say it. It's right here. The success stories are out there. You can see them. It has the report card on how you beat up on teams. Pass defense, very bad. We saw Sutton, we saw Mims, we saw Bo Nix pass all over them, run on them, everything. Like this just wasn't a good defense. We knew that could speed up. You see the Chargers game was a target game. Look at these optimals, 10, 11, 9, 7, like a bunch of them. Pittman on the other side, Jonathan Taylor, Warren. You'll see my lineup when I get there. So, Sean's in here too. Okay, this is cool. Congrats to Hoop on the Judkins call. He did take his first L in Ship It games on the head-to-head, but he's still big time favorite for, I think it's set up to over unders 11.5. I think he's still the favorite. That was the first L that he took all season. So undefeated no longer. So this guy's Scary. Shout out to Scary, always in here supporting us. I'll show my FanDuel lineup in a minute. Really cost me. The only guy up there that had him, and he had 3.7 points. That was brutal. So it happened.
I played so much of him too. I mean, he destroyed me yesterday. He was much more popular than I thought. I mean, that whole game was really popular. I took a heavy approach on that game. It didn't work out. You could see in the first quarter though how that game really could have gone nuts.
Yeah, appreciate Coach Sav says, do not retire it. I'm an avid follower and hit the like button. No, I'm not going to stop doing it. I'm saying I'm going to stop talking about it or gloating or whatever. It's just not my style. I don't care anyway. I really just, like I said to people, if you're playing the amount you're supposed to be playing and you can afford to lose it and move on and play the next slate, I would have congratulated everybody. Still told them it was great that, he was popping in the Stone. It was definitely a good week to use him. But I said it yesterday. I've been around for the 5 to 7 weeks of the 102 where it actually was a good week for him, and people are like, this is the week he's going to be needed, and he still wasn't needed. Look, the optimal yesterday didn't even need anyone from Washington, Dallas, like you said earlier. It's not just these spots. It's more of hoping you learn about the game that we play, and it's not like the pick and the play but it's got to be this week. It's got to be something like that. Yeah, the 6 to 7 times that we've seen it. 6 to 7. Just to have it. But all right. Anyway, let's move on to another spot. There's no Mahomes, and that is in the Millie Maker lineup yesterday. Congrats to Alexander Cole 4. I know he shouted out Establish the Run and some others there. So again, congrats to him. It's awesome to see anybody that wins $1 million is a phenomenal thing. And like I said, Matt, I'll kick it to you first. This is the real deal lineup. It's 249.7 versus the optimal's 286.66. So a pretty good run at it. But a fantastic lineup, and I think just an awesome job overall of putting together some pieces that make a ton of sense, building differently, but still using some of these options. And most surprising, no Judkins on this lineup. Obviously, again, people could look at it 100 different ways. You could take Javonte, or what was Javonte yesterday? 67?
Yeah, he was 67. Yeah, another 6'7".
But you could take him down to Judkins and still got more points and bring the Panthers up to any of those good defenses that crush. It doesn't matter. You don't need to. We won $1 million without it. I'm just saying, just goes to show that, playing Rice with no Judkins was still a way to get there. There's no Lamb, no Mahomes, no Judkins, no real chalk tight end. I mean, McBride was kept in check, but it's just the way it goes.
No AJ Brown, no Devontae Smith. Those guys were really long. So the thing that stands out to me most from this lineup, and very, like you said, really, really solid lineup. I mean, obviously it won, but outside of that, just a solid constructed lineup, is the Herbert two-man Charger stack without either, like with the two least popular guys. Didn't use McConkey, didn't use Quentin Johnston, used Gadsden, who was low-owned, used Keenan Allen, who was low-owned. Those guys both were monster. That's why he didn't need Judkins and he didn't need the Philly guys, because he had that skinny Herbert stack or big Herbert stack without either of the main guys that most people use. So that set him apart. You always talk about, like, with Herbert stacks, if there's, I don't know, in this Millie Maker, let's just say 25,000 people in that room. Like, how do you separate from those 25,000? Using Keenan Allen and Gadsden instead of Quentin Johnston and McConkey, or instead of one of those guys, does that. So that's what stands out to me most. How about you?
Yeah, I think that's a great breakdown. One thing I want to add, and this actually helped me this week, shout out to my guy, Alex K14. I forget his exact name, Alex K14 on X, or maybe it's Alex K14X. He's a great dude. He won $100K and a live final seat last week. We talked about it over in Mastermind. They asked me, because I know him, they said, could you ask him what about his lineup? It was interesting. He didn't use a full-on stack. He kind of fit in some value pieces. And I said last week, and it's funny, I called my shot a little bit. I said it's lucky week 7. I always lose for 6 weeks, and then I try and put stuff together. And I kind of had a revelation last week of what I said, where I don't think you should go away from correlation. I don't think you should go away from covering scenarios, which I'm about to break down in a second. I thought that's why I'll give Alexander Cole even more props to this lineup, because finding ways to separate is one thing, but also covering your bases is another, but not looking, maybe because the pricing is still soft enough in spots early on, to not go for like 3 situations. Higher dollar, smaller field, you can do that a little bit more, and I'll show that in a second too. But just of this lineup, clearly it's a 3-1. And like you said, it's broken down. It's the lowest owned receiver of the 3 with Gadsden, and then the run back with Taylor. And those guys, by the way, really help you to afford that. But after that, there is no real correlation. Like Olave mixed with Rice, mixed with Williams, mixed with McBride, Panthers, etc.
Just good plays.
Right. But it's also, there's thought process to it, in my opinion, because if it's not going to be the Dallas-Washington shootout, let me get the running back that would stand. And that's what people tried to do, myself included, with JCM, but didn't abandon that, still went with it. I'm not going to play Mahomes, but I'm not abandoning Rice at $5,600 popping off the page. And I don't even expect them to get 2 touchdowns or anything like that, but I'm not leaving him out if I'm already not playing Judkins and so on and so forth, okay? If I'm going to leave a game alone, I'm going to leave an outdoor game that has all the chalk in it in the Cleveland-Miami game, where it's the Cleveland D and Judkins, and I'm going to go to Olave, who's not even close to the ownership of Judkins, at a similar price point at receiver, though, and in a different game, but he's got some ownership, sure. But I'm going to go to him as a safer mid-range play and get a piece of that game. Then I'm going to get McBride and the Panthers D if I'm not playing Breece Hall, who's picking up steam. So he still had the Dallas-Washington game in a way that could slow it down. He still had the Kansas City piece without having to have everything else that goes with it. And then he still had the afternoon. He could have moved pieces around. He still had pieces that he could move with McBride or whatever, anything like that. And then the Panthers D when not playing Breece Hall. So I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, but that's why I think it's one of the best lineups I've seen in a while, and definitely the best this year so far for winning a Millie Maker.
So yeah, 2 things. No Browns D or Judkins is massive here. I mean, Judkins, obviously, as you mentioned, outscored Javonte, and Browns D outscored Panthers D by 8, which is...
I think he has that 2v2, though, not to cut you off, but just to say, like, I'm pretty sure Javonte was 6,700. If you just make him Judkins for $6K and add $700 to the $2,500 Panthers, aren't you on the same 2v2? Like he could have had that if he just didn't go there. I'm just saying, but I think he could have had that, right? But then he wouldn't have had a piece from that Dallas-Washington game, and that's important because he might not have felt as comfortable leaving that game out, and it's probably a good idea.
So that's what I kind of wanted to ask you. When you break this down, I'm pretty sure this guy played 150 in the Millie Maker, and you're almost breaking it down like it was hand-built, and I respect that. But do you look at it any differently, knowing it was like part of a set, and maybe he looked over this lineup, but you know what I'm saying?
I agree, and I actually doubt he hand looked over it. Like I said, even myself, I talk about it a ton with my process. It's usually, like you
can't with 150. It's too hard.
Set. What's that?
It's too hard to look over everyone when you have 150.
Right, and he's not going in and being like, but wait, that didn't leave this. I'm just saying I think that's the more interesting part is the flip of that. I think you nailed it, and that's why it's good to have two minds like ours on just where we can shoot ideas back and forth of how we think about it. I'm saying that as like if he hand-built, he might have seen that and not cared, but might have still said this. And that I know a lot of people that play, and it's part of just working the leverage lane show now and doing everything with it. A lot more people are playing 1 to 20 lineups and thinking like, well, how the hell would I have ever got to this? I'm saying if they weren't, I don't even think this is crazy with Javonte and Panthers. I'm just saying I could see a world where it's like, and again, I don't know how much money was used in this either because the thing is down. But just of note, if you went Javonte and Panthers to the Cleveland D and Judkins for even more chalk, it actually would have done better. Not that he needed to. I'm saying for someone playing a single entry, that's like, but then I probably wouldn't have got to Gadsden and all this other stuff. You probably wouldn't have, but you might have went to that with a hand build, and maybe McBride and Gadsden becomes like Jake Ferguson or Ertz and just wherever you land, and that docks you points the other way from the 32 and the 29. But it's all just how you see it and think through it. And for people playing 20 lineups or less, I actually would recommend that when you build out with your optimizer, you are reverting back and actually reviewing your work. I always use the school teacher stuff. My guy Derek is a teacher. He's in here. He was the one saying, thank God you didn't say 6'7". He's a teacher. He gives out bad marks, I'm sure, to students. And it's like a lot of those students will sit there and get their marks and be like, wow, why did this happen? And it's oftentimes they didn't put the effort in first. They only review their grade. They do, which is what a lot of people do. They don't review their actual work before they put it in. We're reviewing before it goes in, after it comes out, and even further on Monday morning, like right now, breaking it down to like the finest detail of not just what we did, what others did as well. And you don't always get that, right? In the classroom, you don't get to see everybody else's essay or everybody else's test that they did to see who did what. You just get the marks, right? You don't get to actually dig in. We have the ability to put in the additional work, go back and see what other people did and have it. We don't know if we're right. Maybe Alexander did look at this lineup and build it exactly. Who knows? I doubt it, to your point. But my point is, it's all what can we take away from it? We could be completely wrong, but it's a good idea to still check it out. So I have sent Newens the link. I do want to go over a couple lineups here. I got Newens one up for after. This was my core on the site that I put up, and this was also I actually won a golden ship it too, by the way, yesterday, even though I can't win. I won the golden shipper because I have to create the contest for everybody. But our guy, Robert J., who will be up on the site, Ship It Game site soon, he finished second, Chargers 0621. That's why this says first and $0. This actually came 10th in the 153 max, and it had a chance. I was sitting like fourth until the Sutton catch at the end, and also Mims almost caught a touchdown, almost so many almost. But anyway, this was my exact core on the site, and it was the exact breakdown that Alex and I gave on Saturday. I said I'm going Herbert. I'm not leaving out Taylor, and then I'll see what I do from there. I liked Johnston back from, I know it was from the injury and whatnot, but he'd been full practice since Thursday, so I went there with it. But I had Herbert, Johnston, Allen with Warren and Taylor. I had Judkins with Cleveland. I wasn't getting to the Dallas, Washington, or Kansas City spot in this game, but I liked Caleb a little bit yesterday. And so since I wasn't on Caleb, I went with Swift, and then I went with the Mims play. And this is just all how it kind of shook out. I actually had Mims and Denver D and something else that I ended up moving around and found this version of it that I liked better. But this was my main lineup using everything from leverage lane. It was my main in the 153 max and everywhere that I had it in the golden shipper, all that stuff. You can go ahead and give any thoughts you have on this one if you want to add it. But this is one where I just left out Dallas, Washington, and hope that they spread it out. And instead of having Rice, I had Allen and guys in that range with him.
Yeah, this lineup freaking smashed, obviously. The $0 next to it certainly throws you off because this lineup obviously is just, almost completely nutted. Not quite, but really, really close, especially in smaller field. Easy construction here. You clearly liked the Chargers Colts game. I mean, over half of your lineup is plays from that game. And then two of the others are two of the best plays on the slate in Judkins and Brown's D. You filled it in with a couple guys that were lower owned and were really, really good in Mims and then Swift. Swift wasn't like low owned, but he wasn't chalky at all. So this lineup's just put together really nice. You can build lineups like this with every single game, basically. This one was just put together really, really well.
Yeah, thank you. I want to see here too, just go back to it for a second. This was the other thing. So if you weren't on Caleb or Rome or any of those guys, Swift was actually he was around 10%, and it was uncertain of what he was going to come in. I thought it could be like even a little bit lower. So I thought there would be some leverage there. It was another sneaky game. It was a C- rush defense. Again, we use the stuff that we say. It's literally out there everywhere. You can see it, but that's exactly it. So that's where I got that from. I already talked about it earlier, but if you go down, it was like Herbert, Quentin Johnston. I don't think I even had the $100. Maybe that's what it was, but I liked Quentin anyway. But just of note, it was those two guys there at a little bit lower ownership. It was Warren on the other side. I love Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's match was good. Indy matchup had already been good. I talked about how the Brissett factor of, I thought, again, by the way, he came through pretty solid, like not everything, but if you just had like him and McBride yesterday, sure, it could have been fine. But I had said that I thought his previous week was a bit of a product of that Colts matchup. And then with Travarius Ward getting put to the IR after that pregame concussion or whatever, I thought like that was just another spot that maybe it opens it up even more. Ladd almost caught a touchdown at the end. It went right through him, and that was important to me as well, but I'll go to that in a second. But obviously that allowed me to fit going back here to the Browns and Judkins. So in these tighter builds, like that's what I can't stress enough. And I want people to find this as part of their process and why I think you should be a member at Ship It Nation and using it to your advantage. It's all right here. Yes, it's this week I landed on the right version of it and others didn't. Newens is going to come on and in a minute and be super vulnerable with his, but I'm pretty confident he uses these tools and has had some really good weeks because of it across multiple sports. So just noting that, I think that's important to remember when you're looking at it. Before we bring Newens in, Matt, I'm going to just show this one off too. This was the FanDuel lineup. I talked yesterday on the show. They actually had some really good tournaments this week, and Hoop had talked about the Juggernaut being a great one. I looked at it. There was the 250 with 500K up top. This was in the Juggernaut, and I had very similar, but their pricing's different over there, so I could get to McConkey, and that's why I said that touchdown falling through his hands at the end of the game. Wan'Dale Robinson with no Slate in there and likely not to get Surtain in the slot. It was an overthrown ball before the run back and forth where he had actually would have been on his way to the end zone. That would have won it for me. And this was 100K up top, but it was Herbert, Allen, McConkey, stuck with Jonathan Taylor, Judkins, and the Browns. I did get a piece of the Washington game in this one. And then I liked having the Robinson Ingram. We had just seen the week before. I forget who it was now, but somebody had went off against the Giants at the tight end position. I really thought Ingram could be a part of. I had to went like Mims and Kelsey was the other version that I thought of, and it would have actually been the exact same. It was like 1 point in the difference, but in hindsight,
that's always nice.
I like that
that's
better.
Always nice. It's always
What's
nice
that?
when it's always nice when like the combo you're thinking about wouldn't have made a difference, because we've all been there. I've been there plenty of times where the other combo that I would have used would have been awesome. So yeah, that's always nice.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see one more thing if it's up. I hope it is. Yeah, it is. They left it up. Thank you to the support team. But this was another breakdown. My guy Ham, he always helps me out on FanDuel. I won 100K twice 2 years ago with his slate plan. But anyway, it was all here too. If you had Herbert, Allen, McConkey, and Taylor, those guys were there. Taylor was up number one. I put in Judkins with the Browns. I had Robinson. I had Ingram. And was that it? I think that, and Krosky Merritt, right? Where did he have him? Right here. So anyway, it was all right there in Ham's FanDuel Slate plan. It had a million outs. If you go back to the lineup, not many people had a 6, a 3 in their lineup at the top of that tournament. So if either Ingram, JCM, or Wandale does basically anything more, Wandale caught a nice grab at the end, but he was also 4 points from the bonus. That was like 20 grand that I could have picked up. But either way, solid day overall, 40,000 plus across both sites. So pretty solid day. Nice one to have there. Any final thoughts from you before we bring our guy Newens in?
No, really solid day from you yesterday. Obviously, you were all over it, really close. And it just kind of shows you that even though obviously the Dallas-Washington game had the best plays on paper, there are really good plays throughout, even on a small, quote-unquote, 10-game slate. There are a lot of different games and spots you can get to and make positive ROI lineups. Not all of them are going to get there, obviously, but certainly a really good job by you. Congratulations on a monster day. The only thing I'm going to push back on of everything you said is my boy Derek. No way he's giving out bad marks. He's too much of a softie, so he does not give out any bad grades.
Yeah, I think so too. He's letting them watch movies so he can catch his shows. I think he's one of the nice teachers. He's definitely the one that you wanted to have, be set up with when you're in school for sure. All right, the people want it. Look at our guy Bring the Noise. Says looking forward to hearing from my guy Newens. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Mr. Jordan Newens, what's up, my man? How are you? It's nice to have you on. We appreciate you.
What's up, fellas? You got me here? Can you hear me?
I got you, man. Yeah, loud and clear and looking fresh too. I like that hoodie.
Oh yeah, always repping the nation. Let's see here. So as you can see, the lineup didn't go as planned.
Yeah, we'll get there, man. First off, let me cut you off. I really appreciate you doing this. Thank you for hopping on. I know it's always tricky, and we've been bringing members on, and you stepped up to hop on, and I love and appreciate all those that have stepped up so far. But I know it's not easy just to jump into the mix and something that we're doing all the time. So appreciate that angle of it as well. But just maybe first off, tell the people, like, how long have you been with Ship It Nation? A little bit about yourself. Like, just give us a little bit of the background story. We got time here, and then we'll get to your lineup. I just popped it up so we'd have it on the screen. I know you're going to share some thoughts there too.
Sure. Yeah. Man, I don't even know how long it's been. Probably 6-7 years. I got into DFS from our guy Bobby Gomes. Actually, I think he was putting his plays up on like Instagram or something back in the day. Shout out to my dude, Bring the Noise. We've been together for, I don't know, ever since that started, I would say. I've been a Ship It member since you guys started. Wherever you were going, that's where I was going. I don't know if you remember this, but back at the other site, my number one thing would be all caps, Tambo, exclamation point. And you were always, you were my guy. So I just, the way that you explain things, it's so different than everybody else. Everybody's looking for the picks, the plays. Honestly, that's what I was looking for when I first started, because it's like, okay, I know ball, whatever. Nope, apparently not. When I started, I did not know what the hell I was doing. I had success. I think actually when I started, way older now, but I think I was 17 and I kind of got away with being on DraftKings, and I actually shipped a couple small tournaments. I started playing like $1, $2, whatever they had, $750 here, $1,000 there, or whatever, which at the time, at that age, was like, oh shit, okay, I can turn this into something. And then it got harder as as the years went on, and it was like, okay, well, we're gonna look into this a little bit. I mean, when I first started, I didn't even know what I would hear Bobby say something about GPP and tournaments, and I'm like, what the hell? They seem like the same thing, but okay. So hop on Google, type it in. Back then, they didn't have much of anything really about DFS. It was like, oh, GPP. I'm looking for an hour just to know what GPP stands for. I don't know. This was probably like 2015, 2016, I would say. But yeah, I've been with you guys forever. I'm a member at Mastermind. I don't, like I said, I can't say enough. What you do at Mastermind especially is what I was looking for when I first started. Like, I would sit there and be like, man, if I could pick one of these guys' brains and just get a little insight, I could definitely turn this around. And as you know, I've had some pretty big scores throughout the last couple of years, made it to a live final, I think 2 years ago now, that first PGA one of 2024. That was nice. But yeah, man, my game has just skyrocketed since it. Don't look at this lineup that I'm about to break down, but my game has gotten so much better since I've joined you guys. It's unbelievable. Thank you for everything you do for me and all the members. It's great.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, man. And obviously a lot of good stuff there. Bobby Gomes is a legend from with the first big Millie Maker winner. I know Matt knows him quite well as well. So shout out to him and the fantasy, he goes by the Fantasy Bros. You've probably seen him around your leaderboards plenty, but yeah, you talked about a lot. And even if this lineup you have, like I said, the key is going to be more in the process. We talk about that a ton. We don't know which week it's going to be. I literally have said it, like my first 6 weeks, always bad. Week 7 and beyond, usually I'm pretty good. And right out of the gates, week 7, a good one for me, but the first 6, not good. So you're not always going to win, but you said it yourself. Like you can't rely on luck. You have to go out or knowing ball or whatever. Those are nice, actually, additions to have. What do you think, Matt? Like when you know ball, and I know our guy Sheets always says this, which I really appreciate, is like if you know ball and can apply it to playing DFS and putting it together, that's when things become a little bit better. That's when you can make some moves and make some thought processes that work in your favor even further. But what do you think, Matt? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, first shout out to my boy Bobby Gomes, OG in the DFS game, one of my boys. So nice shout out there. And yeah, I feel like there's a fine line, right? Knowing ball is nice, but you don't want to think you know more than like the projection systems. And I talk about this, often. I've had a lot of success in League of Legends, DFS, and esports and stuff, and I don't really know too much about it. So I rely on my ability to build lineups and my, lineup construction. That said, sports that I do know, I've also had a lot of success, but I've been hurt at times by thinking I do know more than the projection systems and the sims and all that stuff. So that was more of a problem when I first started playing. Much better at it now. But yeah, I think it all goes hand in hand. Like knowing ball is certainly good. And I love sports. That's why I got into this. Like I pride myself on knowing ball and watching a ton of ball. You just don't want to think that you know more than the projection systems, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and there's always nice too that you can build, in DFS, it's all dependent on how you want to play, your style, and I think that's important to be able to find that out and what works for you. It's no different. I always use this. Alex Blickle and I, my guy from Leverage Lane, we just had a conversation on Mastermind the other day about this, where like comparing golf, professional golf, because it's what he does, and like even like players on the PGA Tour. A PGA Tour player, the reason they want to win and do well, yes, it's the money, it's the security, all that stuff, super important, 100% number one. But if you actually hear a lot of them talk and you watch the interviews and everything that goes with it, one of the biggest things is being able to now pick their own schedule. They can find what works for them. That's like contest selection. That's like, it's the same, just in the best versions. It's same as if you win a milli in DFS. It's not saying to go blow it all, but it's like now you can decide, man, I really think that, 3 max is something I put my time into. That's how I won this $100,000. And that's how I won this satellite ticket. I then turned that satellite ticket into $1 million, but 3 max is my game. I'm going to go up from the 153 max to now start playing the 555 3 max, where it's even less players. It's a big 50K score still. Like I can just play that, feel pretty comfortable. 1 min cash, and I get like 67% of my buy-in back typically. And hopefully I have a good week a few times a year or something. Like that's kind of how you should look at it. And you can make a ton of money that way if you do it well. And again, things need to fall in your favor, but I think it's important to remember that.
I think it's also important, and I just want to shout this out, and didn't mean to cut you off, but you talked about this to me last week. After I had a really nice week, took down a couple tournaments and was talking about that big milli maker last week. You were like, just don't forget that it only took you, however much that entry was last week to win that much money. You don't need to play for 10 grand or 15 grand or whatever to win that much money. I think that's really important to hear, especially after you've had some success. So just shout out to you for that, because that has stuck with me for sure.
Yeah, I don't get that. Like people, it happens all the time. They win 100 grand. Like someone wins 100 grand and then they're like, oh, I'm obviously going to win 100 grand again tonight. Let me jam like any of it right back in to try and win 100 grand again. But it's like, you got 5 shots of that and you just gave all your money away. And that's why you got to be really careful with it. And you want to make sure, you get all kinds of stuff that comes out of it. It's all how you move your money around. If it's the same bankroll. This past week, I literally said it on the show yesterday. I said, I'm going to play more FanDuel. I did play a bigger tournament on FanDuel, but my DraftKings buy-ins were down by that much. It was just a choice I made based on the feeling of the week. I felt very strongly. I was already taking a strong stand going against the best Mahomes spot we've seen in a long time. So all jokes aside, just saying it, I was already taking a good stand. If I could pay it off, it could be valuable. And I like their tournaments better. So I didn't go jam an extra $5,000 into a slate or $6,000 into on top of everything. I just moved my buy-ins and shifted them. And I think everybody should think about that and do that with their buy-ins on the season. Everyone says, oh, I got $10,000 bankroll to play for the season. There's 17 weeks, divide it up. First of all, they forget about Showdown and extra slates that they just end up wanting to play. Second of all, they're like just playing the same thing every slate. Well, what about if your American Thanksgiving is not all about football? I know many Americans it is, and most watching this, it probably is, but trust me, there is some people out there with families and different things that they have going on that they don't just get to tell their family, sorry, I'm watching football and playing DFS all day. So you shouldn't just be jamming in the same amount into the slate that day if you're not available to play it. Like, that's not going to be the same. Somebody else is out there working harder than you and putting the time in to actually be ready for that slate, and you're kind of just playing it. So Newens, I'll go back to you, man. Anything else you want to add? If not, let us know what lineup we're working with here, and then maybe give us a breakdown, results aside, of process and how you got to this and what your thoughts were overall on building this lineup up.
Yeah, man, this is a $100 single entry. I use all the tools that are provided by Ship It, The Stone, everything, Stack Rankings. Little different. I'm not going to use it as an excuse. I was in the car yesterday building this stuff, not my normal setup, whatever. That doesn't matter. Just to jump right into it. Yeah, I was on the right track with these first two here, Herbert, and then stacked him with Ladd. He could have had a better day, but oh well. Ran it back with Taylor to kind of, push the pace a little bit. The Stone was loving Jonathan Taylor. Let's see here. A bunch, actually.
I got it up here, actually. I'll grab it for you if you want here. When you're looking at it, the Stone had a big optimal on him, and we thought the ownership could come back. I was just trying to look at that because your lineup should have it here for that tournament. He ended up moving up to 30. What was this, the $100 single entry, though?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
And then Saquon, God, this guy hasn't done shit all year, thinking, okay, he's going to do something. The Stone really liked him. And then listening to Leverage Lane, Alex kind of pushed me over the top on Saquon as well. What does he have? A 17% optimal. I mean, rush defense for the Vikings is a C. That just kind of fit. And then I threw Justin Jefferson in there to kind of get that correlation. He unfortunately didn't do anything either. That's fine. That was kind of my thought process there, just to correlate some of these pieces here. You can see on the Stone, Saquon, he's blue. All these color codes, these are important. For anyone who hasn't used the Stone before, you should start with these guys in your player pool, results aside, and then just kind of go from there. What else do I got here? Lil Jordan. I don't even have an excuse for that one. He's got a good name. Dude is not that great. We'll leave that to Hoopster. He can play him. Not a fan of him. Mayer, that was a misjudgment by myself here. Obviously, we had Bowers is out. Myers got ruled out as well. But not a big Mayer guy. If I wasn't on Rice, I really shouldn't have went there. I actually should have just went Herbert without knowing what happened. Herbert with Gadsden and then McConkey just to fill that, 1Z position. I do that all the time. That's kind of what I do at tight end. I am team no double tight end, so that you'll never see that in my lineups, no matter what national tight end day. Who gives a shit about that? But Jalen Lane, what was it? Chris Moore was the cheapy 3K receiver.
I got a question though. Hold on. I want to ask you a question. Why do you have a rule you'll never play no two tight ends? Like, why is that a thing? Isn't each slate different?
It is. I think just based off of how many years I've been playing, and obviously you guys know way more than I do, but it just never works out for me, really. And It's not more no double tight end. I also kind of have the rule of not to pay up so much at tight end either. This week it actually did work out. McBride crushed. Warren did pretty well, but you really didn't even need them if you just go Gadsden at, I don't know, 3,100, whatever, without knowing what the puzzle looks like beforehand. I mean, that you could have got away with that. I also think wide receivers and running backs, even though every slate is different, like you said, their ceilings are much higher than tight ends are. So I just kind of roll with that. I actually just, in Sabre, I've been using Sabre for a long time. I'll just go into flex, filter it to tight end, and then just uncheck the top left box just so none of them get in there. Super easy way for me to just kind of filter through the garbage. Even though I probably should have done that this week, whatever, not my process. I'll stick to it. I've had pretty solid success. And then Browns defense, I wasn't on Judkins, so it was kind of like, okay, if I'm not on him, weather was terrible. The Dolphins defense is just, what does title say, cheeks? I mean, F rush defense, C minus pass defense. Figured that I could have got away with it. 25 points from them, fine. 20% chalky defense. Everybody went there. So that was, I mean, as you can see, I only have 3 flames in my lineup. But in my head, this all made sense. When I got home and checked everything, wasn't too happy with the result. But, you know, we play a daily fantasy game. We have a big slate tonight, showdown, whatever. I'm comfortable. I'm in a position where $100 single entry. Yeah, I got crushed. I'll be right back at it tonight. So not a big deal. You didn't
lose money you couldn't afford to lose. That's the key. Like,
exactly.
Again, even knowing that you were in a rush, knowing everything and admitting that, and I appreciate you being vulnerable. You did not sit there and say like, oh man, like, you know, what a waste or whatever. You could afford to lose it. You'll be back tonight or back last night in the show, whatever you're playing next. Slate, do you have any questions or curiosities about this lineup that you want to ask first, or do you want us just to start dissecting it? Like, what's your call here?
I guess just to add another little piece here too, why I have 2 of these cheapies in my thought process here, it was kind of like, okay, everyone's going to 1. If I load up on, you know, not load up, but I have Saquon, he's up there, Jefferson, Taylor, those guys are all high priced. Everyone's going 1, you know, cheap dude. If I go 2, maybe it'll work out. Normally that shit doesn't work out, so probably shouldn't try that again. Got a little too cute there, but no, not really. I mean, I could have played A.J. Brown off of the Leverage Lane show. I remember hearing you say Mahomes was obviously the quarterback everybody wanted to get to. I think Hurts was $300 less than him. And A.J. Brown was, $5,800? That could have easily slid into any of these slots, and I could have flipped it. But no, not really. If you guys want to just break it down, I'm all ears.
I do have some thoughts, then I'll let Matt hop in. Like, again, obviously it's a learning experience trying to go. Doesn't even mean I'm right. It's more of like just a thought of what you can see here. And to me, what stands out the most is, one, you said I had 2 cheapies, but I know you meant wide receiver, but I'm saying when you're looking at the lineup as a whole, you had 3 cheapies. Yeah. That's part of the pay down tight end factor. So one of the things about that is, I'm not, again, to each their own on how you play in different factors. I'm the never Mahomes guy. So for you, if it's never 2 tight end, I don't mind that. Like, I get, like, when people see a medium projection, if it sims well, I would typically be more inclined to be interested, because then it tells you about the whole slate and it is considering all those other factors. But I know a lot of optimizers will just give you 2 tight ends from a median standpoint. But I will say, we talked a ton about it yesterday. I know you said you didn't have a ton of time, but it was a big boy tight end slate. I know Gadsden ended up getting there, but also Gadsden would have been the cheapie that made the most sense here of anybody, because he actually slides in. Not saying you would have got there, and I know many would take it as results oriented, but I would say that's just like a thought process piece to me. When I have a cheap tight end, I believe it's even in the breakdown Nades and I did last week, where it was like Gadsden or cheaper tight ends were like those ones you could plug in with their quarterback, because at least you're going to stand to benefit if something happens. And again, don't forget, you didn't need 32. In the end, you did. I'm saying, but imagine Gadsden gets 18 yesterday. Still a pretty damn good day from a guy at that price point with your quarterback. But the bigger factor to me is there was a lot of good mid-range running backs and mid-range wide receivers. And once you go Taylor, Barkley, Jefferson, you really abandon that, and it sort of forces you into this. And it also didn't really allow you to cover angles, to my point from earlier. Like if you're not playing Rice, I get it, but like, are you doing anything else? You don't have to, but okay, that's fine. You mark one off, but then wait, you're not really playing Washington, Dallas, because is Lane really going to be a piece that, well, it's technically from that game. I don't really see it as like a blocker to like that game output, not hitting the massive score. If anything, if it hits the massive score, it's probably Lane with the overstack that includes him. So like that doesn't really do it. And like the little Jordan Humphrey to me is only really again, the Slayton factor. Sure. So that's where people won't agree with me because you could just put him in as a different cheapie, but I'm just saying, I think it would be more likely that he's involved in like a back and forth with a Knicks build, or like Dart throws it to him. And now you've got something that's different than others are on. So it doesn't mean it's wrong. I'm just saying the main thought process for me is the top 5 are all really solid. Cleveland and Meyer, fine. That's where you kind of can look at it to your perspective. Like, well, I use this stuff. I got some good pieces. I just went with 2 cheapies to make it all work. Yesterday, the slate matters, and the slate dynamics were there was like 6 or 7 tight ends that were valuable, that were up there. And then on top of it, the more balanced build across the board had the best options, unless you were trying to do something with like Wentz up top. But either way, don't be too hard on yourself. Barkley and Jefferson, right place, wrong guys. That's what it was, right? Obviously, it was you said it on the Stone. Great call out. If you look at it here, and we said this could be a spot. You called out the Hurts, A.J. Brown, or Smith could have filled in for any Mahomes-Rice lineup as a way that could beat it. You could add 2 tush pushes and a touchdown and 100 yards to either of these guys and got there, and that could have ended up beating it and a way to get to Jefferson. So you could have spread it out a bit that way, but I like where you landed. Obviously, I was very high on the Herbert stuff. I think you did a good job finding that. I think it's more the overall breakdown. I'll kick it back to you, and then I'll let Matt see if he has anything else you want to just ask or add there. Anything else you see from that perspective?
No, not really. I mean, this isn't even normally how I build. So not really. I mean, this was just, I've had, 2-3 good weeks this year. One of these weeks was bound to come. So not really. I'm interested to see what Matt has to say here.
Matt, any thoughts from you on this one?
Yeah, I got a few thoughts actually. So I thought your point about there being a lot of good mid-range plays, and he took himself out of those plays by spending up all over, is really apropos. I think that's the biggest takeaway. But then 2 other ones. I understand, especially after seeing what happened, saying and wanting to play Gadsden over Meyer, and I think he fits better because of the Herbert stack. But I don't think Meyer was a bad play. He just didn't do anything. The Raiders offense was awful, which, you could have projected, but still, like, his role last week was so good that I don't think he was a bad play just because he didn't do anything. For me, the overall takeaway I take from this lineup, though, is I think you got away from too much of the chalk and too many of the good plays. Judkins, Lamb, obviously some of them like Bill didn't work out, but there's no Lamb, there's no Judkins, there's no Rice. So all 3 of those guys, it's not like, and we looked at the Millie winner, you didn't need any one of those guys, but those guys were all really good plays individually. So I don't think you have to play all of them, but there's a reason they projected that well. Now, I think a lot of this is hindsight is 2020, and looking at this lineup not perform, it's easy to pick holes in it. But there are certainly, if this slate plays out 100 times, there are times where this lineup does really well. So that's just the breaks in DFS. You can't beat yourself up too much over one lineup. And I think your approach of not losing what you can't afford to lose is clearly the best way to do it. Yeah.
I will add, I mean, just go back because you nailed it, because the Meyer thing is solid, and it's not like to beat up on Jordan here. He signed up for it. He's happy to be here, and we appreciate him doing this. It's more like to get it as a learning perspective, and that's what the review is all about. Is the biggest thing for me is this top 3. Like, I'm all about, I know you've heard us talk about this a ton, of like flipping the build and doing something differently. But the problem is, if you're going like 2 pay-up running backs, it's then getting to Jefferson and all the, like, that's the difference. Like, for example, and I don't want to be results oriented as much as like just the obvious ones. If you are keeping Taylor, maybe it's you take Barkley to Judkins, and that's like what, $1,700. That can almost get you from Humphrey or Lane up to something else like a Rice or something. And I know you don't want all the chalk. I'm just saying, like, we're not going to pinpoint to the Gadsden play. Like you said, Meyer was fine. You could add like a Meyer Rice mini, kept Jefferson or made him AJ Brown or something, and then flip Barkley if you wanted to keep the Herbert, Taylor, McConkey factor. And then you still would have had the defense with your running back. You still, by the way, like Judkins was what, 35% in this or something, 39%. It's not like he was that much. It's 25 versus 39 is definitely a difference. But I'm just saying you could have done a little bit that way. I think the biggest factor and takeaway for me is when I'm looking at, okay, I'm going to go to the double pay up running back build, I'm probably using the mid-tier elsewhere. If that makes sense. Like Jefferson could become Allen, Lane,
or Addison
could become Rice. I don't even want to put the Gadsden one into this because that's like too results oriented. I'm saying more of,
I meant Addison instead of Jefferson.
Yeah, maybe that or something along those lines. But I just think like the more likely was if your lane is going to be pay up running backs, Taylor, Barkley, then I might not try and I might try and get Jefferson in something that's going to be like with Wentz or as a run back to a Hurts. Then you put, instead of Hurts, you put in Judkins because you're already going to be different enough. And instead of McConkey, Humphrey, Lane, you come up with like a Moore, Devontae, and AJ Brown. And then you're able to fit something like that. And then you're still not on Rice. You're still not on all the chalk, but you're different enough with that type of stack. So just looking at it, and when you reflect back on a single entry, you do have time to see this type of stuff. Just noticing that it's, three cheapies, even though one of them is very clearly in a good spot. The two cheapies, are you sacrificing too much? You don't know, but what you do know is the slate dynamics going in. There was definitely big boy tight ends that made sense. There was definitely mid-range chalk that was good, that you could have swapped one more of these spots to be able to make it a little bit better in your favor, even outside of the results-oriented stuff. No Gadsden, none of the shit like that, where it's like, obviously, that'd be nice. But you get what I'm saying, hopefully. That should make some sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I have kind of figured out that this is a little leak in my game over the last 7 weeks or so. Just not pairing the tight end with my quarterback has really bit me in the butt a couple of times here. I know a couple weeks ago, I almost took down the live final seat. And if I would have just done a little bit different, just add the tight end there or play the chalk defense, you can say that all now. But just putting the onesie, position player in there with your quarterback, if you don't know kind of where else to go, maybe you luck box into, this guy gets a touchdown and it's double points basically for you. So I think that's one thing that I've found in my game that I kind of got to correlate a little bit better. And this build too, it's more of a GPP build more than a single entry, I would say. So that too sticks out to me pretty good. So yeah, I'm good with it, man. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, look at you,
sure.
218.
I made plenty of way worse lineups yesterday. So
I was just going to say, I got a portfolio
way worse.
Way worse. Yeah, definitely. And
way worse.
I told Tambo, like, whether this won or lost, this was the single entry I was going to put up on the show. I don't care. I had a bunch that cash too, and I'm not going to, this was the best one I played, so I'm going to send that to you. It happens. You're gambling. Everybody should know more often than not, you are going to lose. 100%.
Especially when you're playing tournaments.
Yes, exactly. So, I don't know. You take it on the chin, move on to the next day. It is what it is.
Yeah, Coach Sav asked about this, said in high stakes single. I think just, again, take out the high stakes too. This is where people just want to wonder. Yes, even, in the high stakes, you can get away with a little bit more as well. But just to note it, I would say, because people are like, I could have beat that lineup, but then nobody's putting up that money. So it's like, you could say that about anything. Like, if you're going to play it, then you're going to be playing at the highest level. If you're going to, I could beat the pros at the high stakes poker table, well, then get 100 grand and pony up, jump in there and see how it goes for you. Like it's not likely to be that. It's you had a lineup with a result that would have won this. Yes, aces that held up with kings with that exact same board, if it was at a high stakes table or a low stakes, would have won. But if you got it all in at that table, maybe it doesn't hold up. It's not always the same. You don't know how it's going to work out. But just to go to Coach's question here, you don't have to get as crazy. Like this was a smaller, it's more about the field size. This was a 200 person field that I was in. I think it had 130 that filled it up. So it's like, because it's the Ship It Games one, and this won that. But just to note, this lineup came 10th in the 153 max. That is a 3 max entry with 3733 or something. I think it's 3,733 people. And if you see it, Swift, 7%, Allen, 7%, Mims got to 14 in that, by the way, but they must be watching Leverage Lane with my guy Blickel there, because that's pretty crazy. He was much lower elsewhere. But like Warren, 10. This is what we're talking about when people sit there and bitch about the chalk hitting and they're like, oh my God, Judd, well, 60% agreed he was a great play. So and there was people that were lock button on him yesterday. And it's like, yes, the touchdowns are whatever. But the point being, it's more about how, that's why I always say it's not who you play, it's how you play them. Herbert, Johnston, Allen, Warren, Taylor, Judkins with his D, Swift, because I'm not playing Caleb or anyone from that spot or that game. And then Mims as what I thought would be a much lower owned separator. And it didn't even matter. He wasn't, but he ended up coming in double the ownership Allen. But at that price, it was still fine because it's not, I'm against Washington, Dallas, and I'm against Kansas City. I'm hoping it spreads out in both spots and that the Chargers Indy game is the game that's really needed. And then I filled it up with good options around it with a couple separators in Swift, Mims, and Allen is not even, I mean, he ended up being a lower owned play, but he was part of my correlation. So I'll go ahead, Matt, if you're adding something there.
No, I was just going to say you made the point that I think goes kind of over people's heads too much. Is it's not how you play. It's not who you play. It's how you play them. That is true for every single sport, almost any single player on any slate. So it's not about who you play. It's how you play them. That is a mantra to live by in DFS.
Yeah, and Kit, I know we got you in. I think it was on a free membership recently, and maybe it's going to wrap up. But like this is old news now. Like again, we've told you guys 100 times. We can't stress it enough. It won't always work out. Like Newen said, every week's different. It's going to switch on you. All you can do is put yourself in the position. But good chalk is right here. Good chalk is when a guy is almost 30% to be optimal on the slate. And everyone will say he's the worst play because he got steamed to 50. Yes, if he's going to be 60% in some tournaments, there's an argument to be made for fading it because now he's way over-owned technically to how often he shows up optimal. But again, maybe you're getting different somewhere else. But if it just strictly comes down to finding out who, what, why, and what's all baked in, you have a guy that's almost 30% to be optimal at one of the most affordable price tags on the slate. The props are baked in, so it's not doubling down. It's just noting that those props are very good, which create this scenario in the best matchup, one of the best matchups on the slate. Surprise, surprise, he got there. I don't care if it's from touchdowns or not. The best players in the world that play DFS for a living, that win the most money at it, that are literally been around for years, were jamming Judkins in everywhere yesterday. They knew he was the good chalk. It's not magic or some crystal ball. It's available. You can use it to your advantage, and that's what we're trying to explain when you're using it. Rashee Rice, he got just as touchdown variance. He got just as lucky. 2 touchdowns. He's going to be $7,500 soon. Again, you could get him for $5,600 yesterday. Fade away. I literally said yesterday on the show, like when people are complaining about Jamar Chase chalk hitting and guys that are like JSN keeps hitting, Puka Nacua keeps hitting, the best players or the best values keep on hitting. It's almost like you should play them and get different elsewhere, or man up, pony up, whatever you want to call it, and recognize that you play an aggressive style of DFS that naturally fades that. You will lose even more often, but when you win, you will win all the money. And then you could get it on a heater and you could have that happen 2 or 3 times because it really works in your favor. But man up in between when you have to lose and know that why you lost is because you faded all the best plays on the slate. You didn't play any of them because that's your style. That's okay. That can be your style, but don't be surprised when you lose a bunch along the way. And this is not directed at Kick. It's just asking. But when people say, I don't know what the good chalk is, I don't know how to play, it's all there. Like you can literally go to Ship It Nation. It's all included. We have the most affordable setup that you can get out there. It's if you're already with another site, you can add this to your stack. We have free education courses that come with the membership. You go here, any member gets this. You access your course right here. You click it. Mastermind is a bonus on top. You don't even need it. It's not for everybody. To Newen's point, he thinks it's game-changing. Everybody that's come on has said it's been phenomenal, but you don't need it. You can just go get the free course right here. This is almost 3 hours of me and Hoop, Millie Maker winner, tons of success. You can find it out there. You can go get this. It breaks down your introduction to DFS, all about process, cash games, single, just a free 3-hour course you can just go get the minute you sign up for the site. No other site is doing this. Talks about how to play satellites, live finals, really breaks down hoop and his Millie Maker review, the showdown, everything to do with Mastermind is a bonus, a full DFS glossary of terms, a full member Q&A. We have tutorials on every single page. Oh, I don't know how to use the stone though. Okay, go here, right here, the stone. There's how you use it. Everything else is on the site about how to use it. If you want personal process, it's like buying a cookbook off a chef. That'd be the difference of Mastermind. And Newens, maybe you can speak to this to round us out here, but this is all included when you just become a member. You can get in for $19. I highly suggest you join Ship It Nation before anything else and get this stuff. But these are like the cookbook. These teach you how to cook. This is DFS 101. It's 3 hours. If you go to Mastermind, there is a total difference of add-on where you're getting the cohort training. We're doing a monthly roundtable Q&A with all these players that are trying to get better at their craft and work on their game. There's interviews on there that you're not going to get anywhere else. That's where I met Matt and had him on for the first time doing something with him, breaking down his entire strategy, process, mindset, lifestyle, everything that goes into this. Private Discord, community-controlled content, 60-plus hours, and then you get the advanced courses on how to do this stuff. And that's where it's like you're in chef with a cooking lesson with the chef, right? We're on with me and Nades breaking down our process for using the stone directly. I don't know, Newens, do you have anything else you want to add when it comes to all that stuff? I think the answers to the test are here. You just won't always get an A+, right? You got to suffer through, to our guy Derek's point, some of those grades. Maybe he only gives out C's, like Matt said, not F's, but you got to suffer through some of those to be able to get to the top. I think that's probably the best way I can break it down.
Yeah, I think going back to the education, I am not a PGA guy, or I guess I'll backtrack. I was not a PGA guy. I think I watched the PGA education course 3 or 4 times before the start of the 2024 season. And the first week, I mean, just listening to how you guys break it down, how to play these things is so much more important than, Tambo's on Tommy Fleetwood. Well, everybody knows Tommy Fleetwood doesn't win ever. So do you need him? Maybe.
He just won, by the way, which is hilarious again.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, you gotta study, you gotta put the time in, and that too. There's nobody out there that puts the time in like Tambo. Look at this stuff. His work speaks for himself. Not all these other sites, and not to bash other sites, whatever, but they're not doing this for you guys. Like, and I have noticed actually a couple of them have tried to integrate let's kind of break down why we're doing this now, going away from, just pick some plays. But you're so vulnerable with everything you do. And I know you get shit for, why are you showing everybody this, whatever. It doesn't matter. Look, you've been teaching me for 5+ years, and look at the success you have. I've had success, 50K wins, 30K, whatever. But I mean, it just comes with patience. You got to stick to the process. That's what you guys are all about. And Matt, too, welcome to the nation. NBA starts tomorrow. There's probably a couple of people in the Discord who are as excited as I am, but you and Rio, man, we're going to crush this year. I can't wait for that. So welcome to the team. We're happy to have you for sure. And I can't wait to learn from you as well.
You and I appreciate
Rio oh wait, that's later. Go ahead, Matt. Keep going.
No, I appreciate those words. And I just wanted to kind of touch on what you talked about. Yeah. Tambo, you offer a perspective that is much different from pretty much anyone in the industry, and it is extremely refreshing. So I know we just started doing shows together, and I'm excited about continuing to do them.
I appreciate it. Both of you guys. Yeah, I'm obviously super passionate when it comes to this stuff. It's something I believe in, but I really love, everyone says it, but if your work doesn't speak for it, that's the difference. Like when people start a site or they just get involved in sites, like, oh, I love helping people. It's like, where were you the whole time? Like I've been doing this, like Newens says, he's moved me 5+ years. I want to help people. I've still been able to find success along the way. I learn more from helping others than I do even sometimes in my own lair or man cave or sitting here in Tambo HQ doing my thing. So, and I love that you said that. Even the golf one, you won the very first Q that year, Newens, had said that you'd never really played it. We broke down exactly how to play PGA qualifiers and then how to play the playdown round. And it was Hoop and I on this course, and both of us made the live final with you, and we made it right through to the final play down. We didn't have good success when we got there, I will say, but we had a good time in Michigan that year, and you were in the second last round of the 3-round play down. So again, everything is here that you need. If you're not a Ship It Nation member, you're missing out, because I know in anything else in life, you buy different brands and you don't, like, some people stick to one brand, and that's fine. But we've made it affordable where you can actually go in and see. Like, a lot of people don't even know this, but you can go to our About page. We have a mission. It's the most affordable and most valuable DFS content, tools, and community. By a community, no one is giving away 50,000 plus in cash. Not one other site. Ask them where that money is. They have it. They're all bigger than us. So where's the money? They're not giving it to their community. They're not giving it back to anybody. They're keeping it, and that's okay. They got bills to pay. They have expenses. I don't fault them for doing it. No one has to do this, but we care. We're just trying to show the difference. But we are focused on the acronym from Ship It. Success, your success, hospitality, making sure everybody's taken care of, being innovative. Ship It Games, nobody has anything like that, not even close, couldn't even fathom it. Passion, you're hearing it right now. The interaction, and because of all this stuff, the trust, this is all built in. We have a strong team. Everyone's good to roll. Use Ship 19, get in. The code will still be up, Danny. We're going to keep it up for one more week. We do have some news coming. We are going to have some stuff down the pipeline soon. That's kind of what we use this show for as well, just to share some things. But my guy, Parabay, shout out to the man. He's back because NBA is back, right? We know he's been around still too. I always appreciate him, but just noting he's back. Sean said DFS Mastermind is the Stone Nuts. Coach Sav also said here that the love the monthly Q&A, badass show, answered all my questions. Let me explain. That's all a bonus. Nobody needs to sign up for that. It's a passion project. I think you should. It's a great add-on if you love what you do and you love this show and want to get better at your game. I would highly recommend it. But the place to be signed up is Ship It Nation. You could get in for $19 for 5 days. That includes Saber Sim. You go to Join the Nation. You go down to the $139 a month plan, which is $97 a month anyway, just to get Saber Sim, and you get for $40 more. What you end up getting is our $80 package for half price, all of the content that you see. But right now, when you go back here and use Ship 19, you can get it for $19 for 5 days. We'll prove it to you. So less than $20. I mean, most people are playing at least a $20 or a $12 single entry, something like that. This is where you can get started. Take in what you want to take in. New ones. Any final thoughts from you, man, before we get out of here? We appreciate you stepping on and doing this with us.
Yeah, of course. No, I mean, you guys covered everything. Ship It. Yeah, this is a place to be. Mastermind too. I would say, even for beginners, it doesn't matter what level you are, beginner, intermediate, advanced, you can pick pieces out of certain things. Even like Tambo said, you learn from talking to us, talking to Matt, all these other people, and then you apply that to your process. It's the best place to be. These guys, they really do care about you. It's a family feel here. Discord, I mean, the Discord itself worth $19, way more than $19. My saying with Hoop, worst $3 I ever spent, or whatever that one was a couple weeks ago. You're never going to feel that here. I mean, Tambo is all over everything. All these guys, we care about each other. They care about you. You care about us, whatever. But no, I think this is excellent. Thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun, and who knows, maybe we can ship something tonight.
Yeah, that's the beauty, man. If you didn't have a good week 7 already, it's not over, as my guy Nades always likes to say when he's here. Matt, appreciate you stepping in for the guy Nades as he's away on his cruise. I'm probably still going to get you on this. We're going to chat after the show. But any final thoughts from you, man, before we get out of here?
No, always a great time. Really making my Mondays. I no longer have the Monday scaries doing the show with you.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. So thank you guys all for watching. Hit the smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. If you have any other further questions, you can hit us up directly or just shoot me a DM. That's going to do it for this one, guys. For new ones, we appreciate you joining us as the special guest. For my guy, Matt M. Belman 967, joining us for NBA, which starts tomorrow. And for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it.